I'm on a bus to a swingers club in the middle of the desert. The only other people getting on are native Las Vegans, workers of the strip that man the friolators, hustle risque business cards into unsuspecting hands, and an arthritic old man dressed as Gene Simmons who took 3 minutes to lug his karaoke machine onto the bus. I'm exhausted. I'm aware that I'm not going to get laid tonight. I'm not looking for that. 14 hours straight of standing on my feet at my company's booth at a tech convention I could care less about has gotten me tired of the strip and its catalog of predictable narratives. Tomorrow I'm Mrs. Jones, but not tonight. No matter what I'm wearing, the men at this convention keep coming up to me and asking if I know where the good cocaine is, or where's the party at. My childhood friend Jimmy's mother used to say that I look like trouble, and in adulthood, that accusation has settled into the lines and wrinkles of my face. 30 minutes out, the land is dark and flat, and here the real desert begins. The bus rolls past a giant billboard of a woman in a thong bikini holding an AR-15 next to big Comic Sans letters that say, "Our shooting range is 24 hours. Rows upon rows of one-story storage facilities in scrubland, and under the moon I see a coyote loping his way across a construction site. He's hunting by himself, nervous and hungry. You and me both, I say to him. The empty landscape almost lulls me into dreamland until the sudden left turn of the bus makes its last stop on Jimmy Durante Boulevard, and according to my phone's map, that's 7 blocks from where I have to walk. But blocks doesn't apply out in this wasteland. It makes me wish for a UFO to land, or see a bunch of people 10 years younger than me dancing around the burning effigy of a rhinoceros while throwing glow sticks at each other. The place that I'm going to, which the sound guy at the convention named Rocky said was BYOB, was also someone's house. So in a Walgreens bag, I have a plastic bottle of rum and a lock. They have a pool apparently, but I won't go in unless I practically go blind from the smell of chlorine. I walk past a grocery store warehouse and the desert chill slides upside my arms with a refreshing breeze that reminds me of springtime in Boston. And out here in the desert, my New England raised skin glows under the streetlights. And I lope across the street, my phone's directions bellowing at me. I look like a hungry ghost. And I feel a stirring in the pit of my stomach. The storage facility that stands on the corner of the street bears the same name as the house I'm headed to, the Red Rooster. Back home, people meet at places like Sin or Discreet Pleasures, but I'm kind of heartened by this corny, wickedly stupid name. The building's unmistakable. I see it in proud defiance of the housing developments encroaching on its old turf. Red neon on the gutters, Spanish tile roof, the massive house looking like the bordello from Tim Burton's Beetlejuice. I'm limping a bit from all this walking, and I contemplate taking a pull from the rum, but who really wants to be that guy in somebody's driveway with an open container? I get to the door, and there's a plastic picture frame that used to look like the one my 8th grade picture was in, and it's drilled into the face of the door, and it has this printout that says in all caps, "No cell phones, cameras, or recording equipment. No hats. This is a house. No firearms or weapons. No prostitutes." I want to know what it's like to be their mailman. I take out a handkerchief from my pocket and I rub my neck to make sure that I took all the concealer off of my tattoo. It's a tentacle that's connected to the kraken that hugs my chest and back. I open the door, which is kind of rude because it is a house, but there's no bell, and the throbbing bass from inside makes me think that no one will hear my knocking anyway. I walk in and the warm, low red light of the thin hallway envelops me, and then I realize that I'm not alone. And then I realize, no, I am. This whole one wall is a mirror. And there's a glass case filled with roosters resting against that wall, and taped to the mirror are even more rules, and a rather progressive list about consent that I once read on my friend's feminist Tumblr. And underneath that is printed out a screed against Obamacare. "Just you?" an old man asks as he walks into the hallway like a magical sprite. He stands in the doorway opposite me. Over his massive old shoulders, I see a 72-inch flat-screen television, Bill O'Reilly on it. And being a single man, I'm told my presence was going to be unsettling here. I'd be like a lone coyote circling the yard. "Yeah, Rocky sent me," I said. "Oh, $30 then." And I pay him 40, but he gives me 20 back, and I don't correct him. My skin goose pimples under my rodeo shirt, and I shake his hand and walk down the thin hall, which then opens into this large floor with a dance space to my right and a small bar to my left. The bartender in this house is in her late 40s, her bangs hairsprayed a few inches above her head, reminding me of my babysitters from 20 plus years ago. And I hand her my rum, which she offers to mix with a Coke. Yeah, that'll do. When I get my drink, I turn to see who's there. And the decor, oh, the decor, it reminds me of all the best David Lynch movies. And I've walked into the early parts of the 1980s where people hadn't yet removed the empty indulgence and promises of disco in their lives. Geraldo, where are you now? And when Rocky told me that it would be like this, I didn't believe him, so I had to check it out on Yelp, and sure enough, the decor is dated. Under the multicolored lights, two couples dance to pumped up kicks, their hands just shy of what would scandalize their families if we were at a cheesy wedding reception. And the music actually makes me want to move my just recovered broken foot, knowing full well I may not be able to walk tomorrow, but if I do, good, it'll get me out of work. And I slide onto the floor and I lose myself in the downbeat, which then goes into Old Dirty Bastards, Baby I Got Your Money. And just before I forget who's there or not there for a second and dance, it feels nice. Since the car accident, I don't go out anymore, but I get up and I shave and I put makeup on my neck and I sigh and I stare at my wife's inert Facebook page on my phone and look at her pictures, and then I head to work. And I can't afford to live in our apartment much longer, so I'll have to move somewhere else soon. But here on the floor, I'm losing myself in what makes sense, and occasionally I open my eyes to make sure I'm not too close to anybody else, and the men aren't eyeing me that suspiciously. I move my upper body as much as my lower half because even with rhythm, you can't take the goth club out of you when you grow up and start wearing color. And the dance floor gets more crowded, and a woman has begun this sort of hopping dance near me, which reminds me of my aunt who did the same dance at our wedding reception, that tipsy, jerky hop that shows she's lubricated enough to move, but unsure of the song or the beat. She's wearing a short black skirt and has a huge tattoo of thorny vines up the side of her leg, and her hair's cut in a bob. The way that the flashing light catches it, I can tell she dyes out her gray. But she's barely got any wrinkles, and we look at each other, and she waves and laughs. So I dance with her for a bit, but not getting too close again. Who wants to be that guy? These guys. And the corners of the floor, men and couples stand holding their beers and drinks and watching those few of us out here. Careful, kid, she says, you'll tire yourself out. But when the song ends, I follow her through saloon doors to a billiard room, and there's this giant dude who's maybe 62, wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt, playing pool with a woman in a skin-tight silver dress, a spiderweb panel that exposes her belly, and her graying hair spills over her full shoulders as she bends over the table to take her shot, and I try to ignore his predictable jokes about knocking balls around. And I take a seat around next to my dance partner. This isn't a big night, she says. Tuesdays in Vegas are like Sunday everywhere else. Looks okay, I say. I'm Tammy, she says. She points to the big man. That's my husband, Dennis. I tell her my name, I shake his hand, he sees my neck tattoo and asks if I've been to prison. I say, no, I say, in spite of myself. And they've been married for 30 years, and Tammy doesn't look that old, and I'm introduced to their friend in the silver dress, whose name I forget instantly, and then her husband, whose mustache camouflages with our surroundings. And I sink into their conversations about real estate and 1970s road movies, and Dennis and the lady in the silver dress keep playing pool, and Tammy asks me where I'm from, and I just don't bother lying. Boston, I say. Here for business, she asks. All this week, I say. Then again in May. Well, what do you do? She asks. I convince rich people that they need something that will make their businesses best in class. What the fuck does that mean? Absolutely nothing. Another single male comes into the room, and I'm amazed by the way the four of them freeze him out. His face is hungry and hopeful. Rocky, the sound guy at the hotel, told me to mention him because he and his girlfriend come here a lot. And then when I said I wanted to go, he goes, this is what it is. And I was like, yeah, okay. And even though I'm here alone, I'm not getting the shade this dude is getting. Even though I'm peeking into the locker room next to the billiard table and see a couple who are close to my age heading further into the house wearing only towels. Tammy has 2 kids, she says. My girl's 28. She's your age. I'm not 28, I say. You look it, she says. I'm gonna get a drink, I say. I refill my cup and I watch the movements on the sparse dance floor. I'm thinking about how my life used to be in those open spaces. And I like to think that this place, and I think that my wife would think that this space was fascinating had she been able to make this trip, had she been able to do anything ever again. These people are kind of normal. The signs leading to the orgy room are surprisingly subtle. And Tammy is waiting for me by the dance floor and reaches a hand out to me. She wants us to dance to AC/DC, and the idea of it is so absurd, so agonizingly old that I do it. And it helps me shed the past few days of talking bullshit with contacts and networking with the type of people I wish I had never met and I wished would just die. But I'm a good talker and a phenomenal bullshit artist with a degree in art history. There isn't much else I'm qualified to do that won't cripple me before I'm 50, so I fell into this communications and marketing thing and have myself selling solutions, which is much better than trying to sponge off the last remains of my wife's savings, especially now that I can't. And on the floor, I tell my first two lies. Well, where's your girlfriend, Tammy asks. With her boyfriend at home, I say. You're okay with that, she asks. Dennis is playing pool with your friends, I say. Dennis is here, though, she says. Well, we're here, I say. And she's definitely not. But she knows where I am. And for that one moment, I'm not smiling anymore, and the wavy goth arms stop because I realize that that last lie is never going to be true again. Thank you.